Welcome to part two of my journey of building a garage ADU. In this session, we'll talk about all the construction tips and tricks. I used a contractor and a single person who had licensing in both all the carpentry and framing, as well as electrical and plumbing. So I'm working with this individual to get all this work done, and I was able to provide a lot of help for myself, doing a lot of manual labor, the cleanup part of it, the setting up, rearranging whatever needed to be done so that it's ready for the next day's work. So that saved a lot of money there. And then you can see what it looked like before, a 3-car garage, and then it ended up being we kept a double door. We got rid of the single door, but only always be able to get 1 car inside the garage in the end. Okay, so construction, how it was done, and the contractor, being experienced, used well over 100 tricks that they knew how to make it go right. And so, yeah, you got to have a really good contractor that knows what they're doing, well experienced to make this work, and you end up with the right product that you want. Okay, so in the very front there, as you can see, we have a very large window. You have to have an emergency exit, in fact, 2 exits out of the ADU for safety purposes here by code. And so this is a little bit larger than required, but we want to get as much maximum light in. And so there's also some painting. And so my son was going to be living in here. So he went through over 30 little jars of test paints. So they're like $6 a piece over a local Benjamin Moore store. And then tested and tested and tested again until we found the colors that would work best on this. So we kept the colors on the house and then try to match up and blend in with some new colors and make it all work so it didn't look really odd. And that was harder than you think it might be to get some good colors going. We went through several shades of the greens as well as other whole spectrums of things before ending up with the 3 or 4 colors that we ended up with, and matching up with some of the other colors that were on the house. Okay, so the carpenter came in and worked with us on initial framing, at least get the partitions up and going. So the between the garage, what the house would be, the garage and the workshop area, to the ADU. So get the separations going, the plastic up so that we're working. And then what you can see there is some framing for the bathroom. It was one of the critical things, is raising that bathroom up so that all the pipes could go underneath and that space could be used. Real critical to make this project work. And you notice the garage door got removed, and we put up safety panels in front, but those got removed and that became a wall in the front. And then once we got everything cleared off the cement and all the drywall off, and then looking at the surfaces, the cement itself has to be properly sealed. And so to do that, we had to do a special machine that was rented to do a lot of scraping and grinding and cleaning. So get the surface prepared. And then after it is completely, like, given lots of little stuff, the top surface was flat to start with, but we had to grind it down a little bit and make some dings all throughout the whole thing. And then you put on this sealer. So there's liquid sealers you could use. You just kind of use rollers and put it on. And then on top, after that's all dried up, you can put your special waterproof taping down where any wood is going to be touching. So all the wood is not touching the actual cement. So that's another little trick. And then at the very bottom right, you can see we had to, where the garage door was, we had to put in some little cement and then get that down. So it had to be tied down to below with rebar, but then also up where the walls are going to be, has some bolts in, and then so everything is tied together below and above. So that took a little special technique to do that. And this is showing you the raised bathroom. We end up a little higher. We may even have gone up a total of 16 inches on total to get it up there. And that way, and shifted the framing from one direction to the other direction because we figured out the all piping. And you see in the back wall, pipes in the wall that we found and realized we had to go around all those. But the benefit of raising it up just a little bit higher than we had planned we're able to get a gravity flow of all the waste from both the kitchen and the bathroom, from the kitchen sink, the toilet, the bathroom sink, the shower, the laundry room, all would drain by gravity under the house, which you see behind that wall there, and tie it into our waste system of the house, and then go out and to get all the proper angles and distances correct. So that really worked out well by raising the bathroom up as high as we needed to go. And then we're going to be using steps to get inside the bathroom. And that was one of the biggest things in the project to make this whole thing work well. Then here's just the diagrams of the framing, which we had to change and figure out how to do it and rearrange the bathroom. And by doing so, we were able to get a little larger sink area and cabinet there, and also get in a little larger laundry unit and the showers. Even though they're like a quarter circle shower, they come in 3 sizes. So we got the largest size that would actually fit with the laundry. There is actually a smaller size and a larger size. So sizing everything and getting all the pipes to work in the right directions, it's pretty tricky. So that's, again, having the help of the experienced contractor make all this work really well. And here's the pipes before and after. So those are the original pipes. We have upstairs bathroom right above the garage, and that's the tubing that went up and down, and also the gas line had to go up and down throughout the house. So we made that all work, and then here's all the tubing on the right, what it looks like after. There's where the wall looks like. So it was pretty much a Tetris project. And then the flooring, just showing some from the laundry and the shower area here. So all the tubings that go then underneath, as well as the air vent from the dryer goes down and out. And then there's venting that all the waste systems have to be vented up into the roof. So that was another issue we had to solve. Now here's the kitchen area, showing what we end up with. On the left is the kitchen sink, which also has to be vented up to the roof. And on the right is the laundry area in the bathroom, showing the piping and the tubing, and again the venting that goes up to the roof through the walls. In this area here is showing the flooring. So the bathroom was raised up close to 16 inches in the end, but the actual flooring, the garage floors are not level, and we discovered we really need to level it up. So the garage actually slants. There is actually about a 3 to 4 inch slant from front to back. So it's higher in the back and lower in the front, so the water, if there is any water damage, it all flows out of the house. So that is why we had to level it up. So we use a combination of wood framing underneath, and then a little bit of epoxy self-leveling cement next to the house wall, and then put the subflooring on top. So this is what it looks like after we got all that work done. Also, turns out because there was a little bit of a dip in one of the corners of the garage, actually was about 2 inches lower than it should have been, which is why there was a little bit of erosion earlier, a little bit of sinkage in our clay soils. So we had to straighten up all the walls. They were just slightly off of perfectly straight up and down. So we put in 2x6s and even 2x8s in the very front wall where the garage door was. And so by doing that, and again, our carpenter knew exactly how to do this, and every piece of wood had to be individually cut and to get all the everything squared up and straight inside. So yeah, very tricky to do this. So yeah, having a pro do it was a huge advantage to trying to do it myself. And then we had to add in a firewall up above between where the house space is and where the attic space of the ADU. So, and of course you see all the foam that we put in, the new codes. Every little penetration has to be completely sealed with fire resistant foam. So that was a little tricky to get all that work done. Lots of little cuts to get it all paneled up right, but we did all that ourselves. But the drywall for the rest of the place, we actually hired a contractor to finish up the drywall everywhere else. Also, the whole attic area got insulated with various extra layers just for basically soundproofing as well as temperature control. Here's the electrical boxes at the end, where there's two. So we're able to add in a box, bringing it to the side, and the wires, it worked out. We were able to use all the old wires of the house and just shorten them up a little bit, but they all were able to reach and connect into the new box, which again, huge savings by doing that. And then on the right side is all the new wires for the ADU. Turns out we used 7 rolls of 250 feet of wire to reach all the units, everything electrical inside the ADU. Much more than the total house, because there's a lot more electrical things inside our fully 100% electrical ADU. So there's all sorts of things that had to be done to make this work. And again, after we removed everything from the walls and looked underneath and where the pipes were coming in, where all the wires were coming in and going, so instead of going up through the walls and side walls, we went up into the attic area and over and down. It was the best pattern we have for all of these wires. In this next show, this shows you all the wires going through the attic area, including some of the gas tubes and wires that had to go for the mini split system over there on the right, both for the bathroom. Had 2 mini split units put in, one for the bedroom, one for the living kitchen area. And then, of course, we also insulated the walls between. Not required to do that, but we wanted to reduce the noise as much as possible, and actually I would have put in some of the different type of insulation that even more soundproofing if I had a preference. And here's some of the insulation that's below the bathroom in that framing, so that even the garage flooring is all cement. Even because of that, because of the temperatures of the soil, you do need to insulate under the floor as well. And this is how that worked. Then the back wall also insulated, and so we were able to use actually R15 instead of R13 I had listed here for the interior walls, R19 above in the side walls, and then R30 above in the attic area. And we actually used a double layers wherever we could add even more in. And again, I just like would pack in more if I could, just for noise reduction and temperature control, and also some fire resistance. So the shared walls, particularly rock wool, is a little bit more soundproofing than your fiberglass. So in all those walls, I think I should have paid a little extra to do all in the rock wool for all those shared walls, just for that little extra sound noise reduction. Here's all the types of insulation that can be done and the types of walls that you had to do. And this all has to be pre-planned and put into your whole permits about what you're going to use and how and where is it going to go. And every wall had a little different setup for which insulation, where in the attics, which attic portion was it above, the room above. So this, you need to be careful. One of the biggest soundproofing, turns out, is RC channels that you see over on the right. There's a little picture of RC channel, and you put that in addition to your wall. You put that on after the fact, and then there's a tiny airspace, even that ½ inch airspace between the inside wall, and then the drywall goes on top of that RC channel. So there's this tiny bit of space between the plywood wall side of it. Then you put this airspace, then you put the drywall, and that airspace is a huge gap that reduces noise. So I would have done that everywhere possible. We did it on about half of the walls. I would have done it more even on the interior walls just to get that noise level down. And then in the top right-hand corner is acoustic panels that we put in around our water heater, which was a heat pump. And the heat pump, turns out, makes it's the loudest thing in the whole space. So by putting these in, we were able to get the decibels down another 5 to 10 decibels. Even though we got a quiet Ream system that was guaranteed to be below like 49 decibels. We measured it. It was actually close to 49. It was like 52, which we found to be acceptable there. At the moment, we didn't return it. We probably could have made sure that it was below the actual decibel levels in the original warranties. However, by putting up these acoustic panels on the walls all around it, really helped reduce the noise down. And so inside the house, we don't hear it so much anymore. Whereas before, when we first put it in, you could actually hear the water heater working whenever it did. The other thing we used was acoustic fabric. This is the black roll that you see next to the acoustic panels. It comes in 1 pound and 2 pound. We use the 1 pound rating, but you can actually buy 2 pounds, which again, I probably also recommend. Just more insulation for noise, especially in shared walls. And then putting in, we had all the walls pretty much that were shared were 2x6s, and then putting in as much rock wool is what I'd recommend over using your fiberglass for those walls. Again, noise reduction, noise reduction, noise reduction. Real important for livability. And this just shows you what that black fabric looks on there, along with the RC channels on top of it. So there's full coatings there, above and beyond what the code says. But yeah, recommend put a little extra expense and effort into that. And this just shows you the drywalls. We actually we did the upper areas for the firewall area up above, but when it came down to getting the lower area done, it could be done all in about 2-3 days. So we hired a crew to come in and do this. Really recommend that, not trying it yourself. Drywall is very heavy, awkward, and lots of little techniques to get it straight and leveled up so that it's completely flat. So this is where yeah, definitely hire some professionals to do this, is what I would recommend. Then also we were going to do the AC system ourselves using a Mr. Cool system, but I got talked into upgrading a little bit, and good thing. We went with a Mitsubishi and hired a local contractor to come in and put it in. Yes, it did cost a little extra money, but this particular Mitsubishi electric system is extra quiet, and it's like that was so important, and also runs very efficiently, has really good warranties on it. But again, all these things, all the heat pumps require 220 volt systems. So that's these upgrades that this apartment uses more and higher level of electricity appliances than I have in the house. We did add in 3 transom windows in there. We had a little bit of space to just add that little extra bit of light in above, which just makes the rooms, because it could get very dark in there, and we wanted as much light as possible. And the kitchen window we made, again, as large as possible. It's an awning type. It opens from the bottom. And then you have to watch out for the vent that's over there on the side. That's the vent from the microwave. That has to be so many inches away from any opening window. So getting all these things in this tight little space with all the other equipment that's in the walls, it can be difficult. We also added in some LED, some solar lighted LED lights on the outside. I thought I'd just save a little energy and put these little lights all around the outside. And I think my preference now would have been to just go ahead and put the floodlights in that are wired, but maybe with photocell, and so they turn on and off with only in the dark, not in the light, and with light switches on the inside or even the outside. Anyway, I would have changed that up. That was the other little thing I would have done differently, is putting in a more of a floodlight that is on the outside here for a future patio area that we might build in redwood. I did try to use a solar powered number. Fire department requires easy to read numbers from the street, and it must be lighted at night. And I tried using some solar powered little lights just to add to the outside, and we put them up, and they did not work well, because under the eaves they don't get enough sunlight where they need to be placed. So because of that, we put this over on the front door, just so that the package delivery could find the right place to put the packages for the ADU compared to my house. Again, it still does, the lighting doesn't work as well. It'll last for 1 or 2 hours, not enough sunlight to get it lasting all for the 12 hours that we might need in the wintertime to keep it lit. So we put in wired units in the very front of the house. And again, those worked really well, but we also have a requirement of photocell on the actual switch lights that come on and off, so that they only work at night. Again, requirements, electrical code now here in California. So here's all the units that went into the sidewall. we have the solar panel energy all goes into this box on the left, which was original, and we were able to work around it, move the pipe over like 1 or 2 inches to make sure the door fit. And that door had to be upgraded. Instead of a 32-inch door, we had to move up to a 36-inch door and move it over a couple inches to make space a little more for the refrigerator that was on the inside. So yeah, but we're able to get it all pretty tightly put together. And then we have all this new electrical panels, so that we have coming in here in the very center. That's 2 meters, so we have a master meter and a sub meter for the 2 units, so we actually can separate the electrical and have the bill for the ADU as a separate bill that goes to that unit, and then 2 separate panels. And then we also have an EV car charger we added in, because the expectation is we'll eventually get an EV car for whoever's going to be the resident, or anybody, friends or relatives could come in visiting. They could actually park in front of the house and charge up their car. So and then very top up there and on the left side at the top, that's the outside of a 24/7 air exchanger. That's another thing required in the new buildings now, because they're so tight and everything is plugged in, and so the CO2 does build up on the inside when everything is closed up in the wintertime. So you must have a 24/7 air exchanger, and I found this unit was a single unit. So every 70 seconds, 70 seconds, it goes in and then goes out, goes in, goes out, and a small tiny bit of pressure from 10 cubic feet per minute flow of the fan doesn't change the pressure inside and out all that much. You can't feel it. At higher levels you might be able to feel it, but this one, and it's also a very quiet unit. So as a single unit wired up for just for the small space, because it's only 300 square foot, that's another little critical little thing, where to put it and to make it work, to make it meet code. And also it has filters in it that have to be cleaned out every few months. So that's another little maintenance thing that has to get done. Here's the panels for the 2 units. One on the left is for the ADU, which is even bigger and fuller than the one that's on the right, which is for the house. And it actually uses a little bit more of the amperage. So there's close to 100 amps on both sides. All had to be separated, and the breakers, some of these breakers, the quads in there, were $150 each. So that brought the price of the electrical paneling up quite a bit. So you have to make sure you have enough funding and get all the right stuff to start with, and bigger the better. Now we ended up with a 200 amp service, and I wanted to go up to 300 amp service just to make sure we all had enough and a lot to spare. But the cost difference was huge to go from a 200 amp to a 300 amp service. Had to change the amount of wires, even maybe the transformer that was out in the front for PG&E, getting it wired up. They would have to do something very different for the community if I had to upgrade that high. So we're able to make everything fit within the 200 amp service for both the house and the ADU. Real tricky, but can be done. And one of the things, we could not put in a instant water heater. That was the one thing we could not add in, just to keep everything under the 200 amp requirement, because those units particularly use a fair amount of amperage. And then over here you can see the EV charger that we was able to put in. Had to be looped for the wires, the main wire coming in, and then the wire coming out is 25 foot, so enough that could reach out to a car in the front apron. The gas meter, we had to, when we redid all the cement and actually pull everything off the wall, to make everything work, we had to kind of cut off the service and then put it back together again. But we were able to push it back about 2 inches. And because of this little plastic, in the very front of it, you see this nice little plastic unit that's now like Wi-Fi based, where the gas company, PG&E, can get the information directly. They don't have to come by and look at it manually anymore. But that little plastic unit is breakable and was in the pathway, still in the pathway. So that's why we had to make the pathway a little bit wider and put it back closer to the wall, maybe by about 1 inch or 2. And that's just now much more walkable in the space. We were also able to keep the telecommunications and the internet wires still for the originals, we kept those intact. Those still work just fine as is. So we did not have to move those things in the process. Now, one of the things that comes, this just shows you all the different things coming off the wall and the side of the house coming down, the things we needed to do. So we have a 3-inch electrical pipe that goes into the box at the very top there. And then there's a condensation tube from the 2 mini splits. Water has to leak out of those units, come down the wall, come out and be put out into the landscape. So it comes out the wall, goes down underneath the sidewalk, and then we actually put a little pot so it goes right into the landscape, and a tiny little rain garden there. Then we have grounds. We ended up with two grounds, one for each of the units of the house. And they had to be over 6 foot deep, so they had to be hammered in pretty deeply. And they just were just the right size, and the contractor knew what they was doing. So yeah, experienced contractor. Again, little tricks. Get it to the right size, right length, the right depth, and make it look nice at the end. Real critical. The new sidewalk, we actually did a lot of the work ourselves on that. However, I did hire a cement finisher to make sure that it was done correctly and then finished and flat. And so we had a very experienced person come in and do the finish work on it. There is an outlet for the condensate fluid, so it says the flower pot, just so that any leakage that comes out when the unit is working comes out and just kind of goes into the soil, and then I put a little garden in front. There is a slope here, which is why we had the problem originally, because it drops over a foot from the walkway down to the next neighbor. In fact, a little bit more than a foot. So this is where the erosion in the house sunk a little bit right on this corner. So that's why we had put in, you see, little borders to keep any erosion from flowing into the neighbor's driveway. And this is all leftover wood, reused. So I try to maximize reuse and recycling throughout the process. Then on the doorstep, because the wall had to be expanded from 2x4 studs into 2x6 studs, and so the original door we bought didn't work, so we had to go. So it took a little bit of extra effort, but we got the 36-inch door, and we had to buy a special. Had to go find this little instep here to make it work. But that changed. Expanding that wall from 2x4 to 2x6 wall to get the step worked properly and all the insulation, the wires properly, also reduced the whole living kitchen by 2 inches. And so that changed all the cabinets. So that was one thing we discovered by every inch counts in these small living spaces. My son, we decided to go with a little upgrade. So we have a solid wood oak, which he was able to put in himself. He started it up. Carpenter came in. Contractor said, "Well, not good enough." So ripped some of it out, redid it, and made it right. And of course, we had to go get the right tools to make it all work well. But good learning on his process. Learned lots of carpentry while doing all this type of work. Then we have, this shows you the mini split. We have one in the living room, also one in the bedroom, and then the 24 air exchanger and the 4-inch insert lights. And so distributed throughout the whole unit in all 3 rooms. So lots of little lights just scattered throughout, placed evenly, give pretty uniform light throughout, minimum shade, and where it works pretty well. Inside the door, we have various ways of doing this tiny little 4-foot by 6-foot living room space. So my son decided to find a special couch futon that turns into a bed when needed to maximize the use of that space. And that's what he found to be most comfortable. But you could actually put in various things. Originally, we were going to do like a lounge chair with a small little TV in front of it, and a bookcase and the like on the wall there. So he decided to go with this as his preference. So whenever he has a friend come over, they have an extra bed to sleep in this tiny little space. He also was able to build a custom table to fit into this 2-foot by 4-foot space. It's a table on rollers, and even has hooks on the side to put extra things. So again, finding ways of utilizing your tiny space with various things, and then a lot of customization going on here. And then he still has lots of wall space he can use above for doing things. So eventually maybe could put a TV up on the wall. And fortunately we have Wi-Fi in our house that is easily accessible from this space. So his computer system, he doesn't need to put in his own system. He can use our Wi-Fi system with our password. This is what the kitchen area is from original. The wall, even though it got thicker, and so we had to redesign the kitchen entirely. Reorder one of the cabinets because now it was 2 inches shorter, so we had to get one of the cabinets had to be smaller, so we had to get an extra cabinet there and put the old one into the bathroom. And then you can see what it looks like now. We expanded the storage area on the and also the shelving area. And then when we cut out for the sink and for the induction stove, we retained those blocks of wood, and my son was able to put 7 layers of mineral oil on them and turn them into cutting boards. So we've got 2 very large cutting boards. The small one will probably stay as a cutting board, but the large one we're talking about making into a small little table that could be used and rolled around. So those are still options. And then there's by increasing the actual distance and the length of the area for work area, so for the dishes or cutting and working, so now we have a much larger, nicer area with extra cabinet down below that we're able to squeeze in. And we got a larger refrigerator to work by moving the front door. Got moved over 2 or 3 inches, as well as being a wider 36-inch door. We squeezed that over, and so now we could get this refrigerator right where the front door is, and open and closed. Just have to watch the bumping a little bit if someone's trying to open both the refrigerator and the front door at the same time. 2 people doing that. And you notice that there's now space also above the refrigerator where we put a nice air fryer, which I have one in my house, duplicated it here. Love my air fryer. And then we have larger storage space. The cabinet right above the refrigerator is actually 2 foot deep for a very large, wide area, very deep for any larger things also. So again, maximizing your storage spaces throughout. And the microwave by code has to have a 300 cubic feet per minute fan underneath it above the induction range, and getting it vented to the outside. So that was a little tricky to make it work and make it fit with the cabinets all around it. And then just air pressure. Notice when you have that much fan working to push the air out, where's the air coming from inside? So you almost have to open up a window to allow it to maximize the airflow out. So it works well. And okay, so now we're going to go. It just shows you the air fryer above the refrigerator, and then there's a trash can between the walls, and so the front door can open up easily, bypassing the refrigerator, which is I had to find a special sized one that was tall and extra tall. It's 10 cubic foot of space inside this refrigerator, and it was a little extra. I was looking for an extra quiet one that it's at 42 decibels is what it was supposed to be, but is a little bit more than that, it looks like. But still, it's the best one we could find, the quietest one we could find for this size of 10 cubic foot. And also it's counter depth, so it's not as deep as your regular refrigerator to make it fit into this space. So again, yeah, you got to search for your appliances and really research well for space saving as well as noise level. And then underneath the sink, my son wanted to have a good water filtration system, so he upgraded to an osmosis filter that you plug it in, uses electricity, has a pressure canister for holding the air to add pressure to the water as it flows up. So he's got really strong pressure under the for the water filter that's coming out. And then to get that system in, we decided to use a slightly smaller garbage disposal. He didn't really think he needed a garbage disposal at all, but no, I said we're going to put it in anyway. But we put a smaller one in. It's only 0.5 horsepower when it's normally 1 or 1.5 horsepower. because that's all he needs for the work that he's going to do as a single person. Just can't grind up huge stuff, just small stuff. But it's quite adequate at a 1/2 horsepower. And up above where the 3 windows are, by placing the cabinets, you can see the 24-inch deep ones in the end. And then you see the cabinets up above have a little bit of space, so if he wants to put plants up there or a large pot or anything, a little storage area, as well as getting the light in. And then right above you see this black beam. That's actually a structural beam to hold up the second floor of the house. So we were able to get that all sanded down originally, and we were going to just leave it as bare wood, but we didn't like the looks of it, so we went and ended up painted it. You notice black and white theme, very modern, very current, and my son likes this black-white theme. So all the walls white, cabinets white, all the appliances are black, even the bed sheets and the curtains are all going to be black. That's the way he likes it. Then we have other little things need to get added in. We have to have a smoke and a carbon monoxide monitor that's we just wired rather than battery operated, so we don't have to worry about any of that. But it has to be tested and checked every once in a while. We use the little lights, 4-inch inserts within, more than adequate enough light, very bright. They all have dimmers on them because it's too bright if you just turned them on. So they're all about half level normally. And then this little area here, attic, we weren't going to put one in, but it got required by the inspector that we had put in this attic crawl space area, so get up in there. And then we were going to put storage up there into the attic area, but I think without the wires and everything, we could have put stuff down. It says, no, we need access to the wires rather than putting paneling down above the wires. So I decided to put insulation. So I have 2 extra layers in there, just to make sure we have plenty to go around. And actually there's things you actually put in where the soffits are. There's actually things you put up on the roof area to make sure that there's still good airflow from the soffits up and down. And then there, even in the attic, there's also a vent, and we got away with doing a passive vent, which turns out to be just as efficient and economical and energy saving as a powered one. But so we put up a passive vent up in the top of the roof to vent the attic area to keep it cool, and that is very effective. That in the firewalls. And it turned out we really needed this attic space because turns out the roof had a small leak in the top of it, and so first rain came down and then started leaking, and it says, oops. We were able to get in, find where the leak was coming from, get up to the roof, and then get it all fixed. So with almost 0 damage actually to the structure or anything. So didn't have to replace anything because we were able to get to it very quickly and make it right before the second storm hit. And then because we have it's right on the street, and there's a street light right in the very front of the house. So we are using a blackout shade that just goes up and down so that it can go down and still have some privacy, can go up. And then we have the extra large window that slides to the side for exiting. So that worked out well. And my son decided to put together a custom piece of wood that he was able to work with and sand down, and found a really nice piece of windowsill that's custom built and shaped right to fit. Same thing in the kitchen area, did the same thing. Again, just showing we've put a bed in on this wall. It is a queen size, fit into the space. And this came from the upstairs bedroom temporarily. But what we're going to do is one of the next things to do after we finish this video and in the process here of all the internal upgrades is to make a Murphy bed system. So this bed will eventually turn into a Murphy bed, which slides up into the wall, and then there'll be shelving and cabinets that is put on a wall above and to the sides of it. And that way he can, there'll be a lot more space so that if he wants to do yoga or anything on the center of rooms, or even have a party in there and put in an extra table and have a nice dinner party with guests. You can, instead of having this tiny little table, you can actually have put in a little temporary table, portable one with 4 chairs around it, and have a nice small group there, or play poker night, whatever he wants to do. So by creating the Murphy bed system in this small space, it makes it more multi-use type of space. Here's the sidewall in the bedroom, and so right now this is temporary storage space that we're just currently using an old shelf from the garage, but there will be some permanent shelving that's going to go up probably up to the ceiling on this area, just to maximize what you can do in this space. In the closet area, my son, again, doing a little bit of woodwork, put up a black curtain across. It's the entire wall there. There's 9 foot of wall. So the curtain goes across it, and there's a space behind this curtain, all 9 foot. That's about a 2.5 to almost 3 foot space. And that's going to be the storage area for the closet. And so you can see once we put the curtain aside, there's hanger spaces, there's shelf spaces, there's up above, you can put these plastic buckets containing lots of stuff. It's an 11-foot high ceiling total, so lots of space up above. And then he even put in handmade these dresser space. Got 2 of these below, so it's a his and her system. So should there ever be 2 people, this room and ADU, even though it's for 1 person living right now, that it can be for the future. It could easily fit a 2 people. A couple could come in and have a his and her area for the closet. So he designed it for that in purpose, and it worked out really nicely. The drawers come out and slide out very nicely using all the system, but all custom made to make it fit. And even the storage space below, so there's shoes and other things can go down below because he loves to do camping. So there, lots of gear can go down below. Okay, in the bathroom, in the shower, one of the things I didn't realize that even though you have water resistant drywall, you have to put in another layer of water resistant paint goo that gets added in where the shower goes. So, and then we put in this what's called a quarter circle shower, sometimes called a half circle area, but it's actually a quarter circle with the door that slides across, and so lots of extra space on the side of it. And then we also noticed that there's a light tube. So we thought, oh, okay. We were able to figure out a way of getting a light tube. It's a 10-inch one. You can get them in different sizes and shapes, but a 10-inch would actually work and fit in this amount of space, give enough light for this 6-foot by 9-foot bathroom. So during the day, you don't have to turn on the light at all. There's plenty of light in there to operate and do whatever you need to do, right above the shower. So it makes it pretty nice in there. And again, white, black. And you notice that the floor is a marble floor. We were able to find a source for marble tiles that were left over from a much larger project that was done somewhere in the city. And so they were left over, and again, just going through the internet and finding stuff, I was able to repurpose these and bring them here, and had just enough tiles to make it all fit and work. Other little things about the bathroom besides the little marble on the floor, the steps that went in, again, a little custom job. The steps is the carpenter did a really good job of putting the extra oak around to match the oak flooring, and put it into the steps that get into the bathroom. But the door for the cabinet wouldn't open with these steps, so we're gonna. That's another little project down the road here, is to redo the door and shape it so that it's maybe a 3/4 door above rather than a full door. And then it'll open above the stair and make that work. But in any case, having an open space like that makes it easy to get things in and out, big stuff. Then on the up above, on the left, you see we decided to go with pocket doors rather than a door that opens and moves around. And that's real critical in this small space. So we maximize the floor space and the walk space, and not have actual doors interfering with movement. So that was real handy to do. And then these sliding doors, they can bang, both hitting either side, opening and closing. So there's actually little things that you can add both on either side so that it's soft close, just like toilet seats now are soft close. So this door is now a soft close sliding pocket door, and that real handy. My son really likes these. Then you have the cabinets in the kitchen. We were able to, instead of having a small little sink, we were able to rearrange everything by raising the floor up and changing things around, putting a larger cabinet with drawers on the left side and underneath the sink. for it, and that really helped with all the things that you need in a bathroom. Then just showing you the same setup, but put extra large mirror in the front and a medicine cabinet on the side with a towel rack and lights up above. So kind of maximize the space and usage. And space much larger. And you can see the laundry unit behind right there in the mirror. And then we have various light switches using these new, what's the modern looking ones that are toggle type. And then in the center of these three switches, you'll see that there's a little photo detector that's also used for the fan system. And then the fan showing you up above also has a humidity indicator in there, or detector. And so when the humidity's up or when the light's down or whatever is needed, so the fan will turn on. And it's just, but we try to minimize the actual volume because, again, it's a large volume of air. It has to get moved. So again, you may have to open up. It does work with everything closed, but it works. I think it probably works a little more efficiently if you have a slight crack somewhere in the house. But having a 24/7 fan that actually has a little bit of airflow between it, that's actually enough volume to keep the pressure equalized throughout the whole place. And then again, down below the picture, you'll see the actual regular light as compared to your light tube. And the light tube provides almost as much light as the little light does. And then just adding in, just watch for your toilet to get the right shape and size. We went with the Toto system because I like I use those. I replaced all the ones in the house as well with it at this a little earlier. So I saw what these were like, but I like the tornado flush system that they have, as well as the extra shiny, smooth ceramic surface that they advertise. So it is easier to clean, and the flow is really nice on the inside with minimum water use. So it's less than a gallon for the small flushes, and just about even just 1 gallon just for the high flushes. And in the laundry, we used a stack unit that comes as a single unit rather than two units that are attached to each other. And the stack system that you buy as is also puts the controls in the center rather than way up at the top for the dryer. And that's so that if you ever have a shorter person inside, it's easy to run the controls on these things. And the doors open from the right to the left. And because of that, they open up much wider and easier to unload and load things in compared to doing the other way where the wall was just in the way, so that it wouldn't open up as much as the other way. This is the extra cabinet because for the 2x6 versus 2x4 walls, the 2 inches mattered. So this 36-inch cabinet was extra now because we had to get a 33-inch cabinet instead. So putting it in the bathroom, it matches the kitchen. It works with extra storage up above in the bathroom. Now this is a look at what the house garage now, what it looks like now that it's all done. So on the top left, we see my workshop and bicycle storage area. So pretty packed in, but everything is there that I need, and to do all the work I need with all my power tools on the side with extra cabinets for storing various things. And then easy access, open up the door, can get in and out. On the right-hand side up above, you can see the shelving we were able to retain. We moved the dresser into that little space with wine rack, and then we have the new EV charger, which I've upgraded a little bit on the inside of the house as well. And then I was able to put a electric trike bike up on the ceiling, so it's hanging up there up above. It's only occasionally used by my wife, so we were able to hang that up, and I can bring it down pretty easily with pulley. And just shows you the extra storage space that we have on the side here for everything that's for the house that has to come in and out. Nothing no long-term storage, all temporary stuff that goes inside and outside the house that we buy at the shops. Down below, you can see that there's lots of space in there for a car to start in. Again, it's an electric car that we use with the EV charger. We can just slide it right in, slide it right out. And so half the garage is all we really needed for, that's 300 square foot of garage space for the car and everything else. So yeah, compacted down, redesign, and it works. So you can do it. Water heater, again, as I mentioned, before it was like 49 decibel level, and it was right at or close to 49 decibels. It was just maybe like 1 decibel above is when I tested it with my phone. You can actually get an app on your phone to test these things. It has enough to have airspace around it because air is coming through from the top to the side, and that's how it cools. So it just turns out the garage is much colder now than what it was before. So it's good for your wine that I store in there in the garage, but it does cool the garage an extra 5 to 10 degrees compared to what you're used to in the past. And because of the noise level, you see behind it, I put acoustic panels. Works really well. Reduce the sound quite a bit so that we don't hear it so much when it's working when we're inside the house. The walls are, again, I put extra stuff around the walls for the ADU, and my son does not hear this inside his ADU at all. We still hear it a little bit inside our house because it's a 2x4 wall that's there that was Dakota at that time. Now it's 2x6 walls now, but it was 2x4 that we didn't beef up. So, and because that 2 inches with a little less insulation, it now you can hear it inside the house a little bit. So again, noise reduction. I can't hammer that enough into because that's not, there's very few codes about noise level. There's some soundproofing that needed, but it's not enough, and you're dealing with small spaces. Yes, it makes plenty of noise when it's running. Okay, and so now you have the sidewalk that we built in. This is the after done with the gas moved over about 1 or 2 inches. We're able to slide it inside a little bit, plenty of space to walk around. And with the EV charge there, nobody bumps into those wires, easily walking around everything. And the front garden area, these are some lettuces I let grow out for pollination. And eventually the water that's coming down the drain, it will be shunted over, and right where the wood is there for the neighbors, I'm going to shunt it over and turn that into like a mini rain garden there. And then we're going to have food garden in the front, rain garden, and the neighbors can come and eat and take whatever they want out of the garden. So we're going to share that for our community. Just to show you, there's plenty of roof penetrations. There's actually 5 that are up there between the vents that need to be put in, the attic vent that need to be put in, the light tube. So yeah, just be aware you've got to find places to put all that. And we were able to match the color to the roof a little bit to kind of hide them a little bit. But yeah, you're going to have some roof penetrations. Then sidewall penetrations, there's a bunch of tubes and vents that are going to be coming out, as well as your electrical. So you just have to find where that space is going to be, and we were able to work under the house and vent the dryer under our main house and out side by side with our house laundry. But there's also condensation tubes that need to come out, as well as air vents need to come out. So yeah, you have to figure out where all that's going to go to code and watch your distances to a open window. This is the backyard area. So you can see it's a little cleaned out now, but we can make a patio, either enlarge it or maybe turn this into a redwood patio in the back area. So that's a future that we're going to be working on, just to give them an outdoor living space as well as an indoor living space that's fairly private. And now we're at the end here, just showing you what the final product looks like with the ADU on the left in the green color, trying to match up with some of the colors that are on the house, both the white, similar value for the color of the sage green. And then we had some dark green around the venting on the house as well. So trying to match that up with the dark green, and then which has the same value as the red trim of around the edging of the gutter systems areas. So it matched up really well, and we're pretty well pleased with everything. I saved a bunch of money by doing a lot of the work myself, but that was a huge number of hours and hard labor, some of it. The total cost, just to let you know, for both the tough shed and for the ADU and all the work that was done, ended up about $125,000. and I saved well over $40,000 between the doing all the drawings and permitting myself and making all that work plus providing all the labor. So probably more than $40,000 savings there. So and because I was lucky with finding the right contractor and who was able to work with me, that was real critical in getting everything right. And so everything was done right to start. We didn't have to redo hardly anything. Just added a few things. The inspector did come by 10 times, and so made some suggestions, and we were able to follow their suggestions. So those inspectors can be very helpful to make sure everything gets done correctly. So be nice to them. But a lot of the work got done, and so and my son having put a lot of effort himself, that was also part of his ownership of the unit. So by doing all the flooring, the color choices, and a lot of the cabinet work, as well as the closet work, and hey, so he's a happy camper now. And so there'll be another little video. We'll put together a little Instagram that's much shorter, that's just showing him, showing off his place and what he likes about living in this space. So look for that. We'll have it published somewhere as soon as it gets done. But thank you for listening, and hope this helps you in your journey on building your garage ADU.